When people think of Caddyshack, they immediately recall a film filled with mischievous caddies, arrogant elites, and a vengeful gopher that became an icon of comedy cinema. Directed by Harold Ramis and released in 1980, the movie brought together comedic powerhouses like Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, Ted Knight, and especially Bill Murray. Yet behind the endless laughter lies a production process that was chaotic, improvised, and filled with extraordinary incidents. Below are 15 bizarre facts that will completely change the way you see Caddyshack. 15. The final explosion mistaken for a plane crash, when movie effects triggered a real emergency. In the hilariously explosive final scene at the 18th hole, a staged detonation nearly escalated into a full-blown aviation crisis. The sequence was filmed at the Grand Oaks Golf Club in Florida, a highly sensitive location directly beneath the busy flight path of Fort Lauderdale-Hollywood International Airport. When the special effects team ignited a massive explosive charge to create a spectacular visual, a towering fireball and thick column of black smoke shot into the sky, forming a terrifying from above. At that exact moment, a pilot preparing for landing witnessed the blast and immediately radioed air traffic control, reporting what he believed to be a catastrophic plane crash on the ground. Within minutes, police, fire trucks, and emergency response units were dispatched en masse toward the golf course. The chaos only subsided when authorities arrived on site and realized, to everyone's astonishment, that it was merely a film shoot. 14. The SNL feud in a legendary showdown, when Bill Murray met Chevy Chase. Few people realized that the on-screen chemistry in Caddyshack was built on the foundation of a real-life feud. Just 2 years before filming began, Bill Murray and Chevy Chase were involved in a heated physical altercation backstage at Saturday Night Live in 1978. Fueled by professional jealousy and a barrage of personal insults, the confrontation escalated into a full-blown fistfight that required intervention from fellow cast members. Because of this volatile history, the original script deliberately avoided placing their characters, Carl Spackler and Ty Webb, in any scenes together. However, director Harold Ramis recognized that keeping these two comedic geniuses apart was a tremendous waste. After an impromptu lunch, he convinced them to film a single shared scene in Carl's shed. Remarkably, setting aside their personal animosity, the two delivered a masterclass in comedic timing and improvisation. Their spontaneous interplay resulted in one of the funniest scenes in film history, a testament to the professionalism and brilliance of true artists when the camera is rolling. 13. From coming-of-age drama to an accidental comedy arena. Before it became a landmark of outrageous comedy, Caddyshack was originally conceived as a modest coming-of-age drama. The story focused on young caddies striving to earn scholarships, inspired by the real-life experiences of the Murray brothers working at golf courses in Illinois. However, everything changed when comedic heavyweights like Chevy Chase and Rodney Dangerfield joined the cast. Their magnetic presence and explosive energy quickly overshadowed the film's original serious tone. Improvised comedic bits, many not even in the script, began to dominate the production. These unscripted performances effectively consumed the original narrative, transforming what was meant to be a heartfelt youth drama into a relentless showcase of comedic brilliance. This pivotal shift turned Caddyshack into a timeless comedy classic, though it came at the cost of nearly erasing the film's initial, more introspective themes. 12. A chaotic set and all-night parties, when cinema was forged in pure disorder. Many members of the crew later admitted that the 6-week shoot felt less like a professional Hollywood production and more like an endless spring break. All-night parties, hard liquor, and the presence of recreational substances became a routine part of daily life for the cast. Director Harold Ramis once joked that trying to manage the set felt like attempting to control a full-scale food fight with nothing more than a paperclip. Yet, paradoxically, That very lack of discipline and sense of rebellion seeped into every frame of the film, giving it a loose, irreverent, and wildly unpredictable tone. The laughter and explosive energy captured on screen didn't stem purely from technical performance. It was the byproduct of complete creative freedom. In the end, the chaos behind the scenes became the perfect seasoning, transforming a fragmented script into a comedic masterpiece defined by spontaneity and a refusal to follow any conventional formula. 11. The gopher that cost $500,000 when an uninvited scene stealer took over. The most memorable character in Caddyshack, the mischievous gopher, was originally intended to appear only briefly as a minor gag. However, after reviewing early cuts, the producers realized the film lacked a unifying thread to elevate its comedic momentum. They made a bold decision: turn the tiny creature into the central agent of chaos at Bushwood Country Club. This spontaneous creative pivot came with a hefty price tag, nearly $500,000 at the time. The budget went into building sophisticated animatronic models, designing intricate tunnel systems, and integrating advanced visual effects. What's even more astonishing is that the team behind the gopher included effects artists associated with John Dykstra, the same innovators who had recently helped bring Star Wars to life. The result was a comedic icon. This unlikely fusion of cutting-edge technology and a non-speaking character proved that sometimes the most unexpected element can become the very soul of a film's success. 10. The storm that nearly destroyed everything, battling nature and palm trees. Filming Caddyshack in Florida during the fall of 1979 turned into a logistical nightmare when Hurricane David swept through the region, threatening to derail the entire production. The storm damaged expensive equipment, disrupted schedules, and stretched the shoot to an exhausting 11 weeks. Costs ballooned, and the crew was pushed to its physical limits under harsh and unpredictable conditions. Yet one of the most unexpected challenges came from a seemingly simple visual detail. Director Harold Ramis wanted Bushwood Country Club to resemble the American Midwest, a region where tropical vegetation simply doesn't exist. To preserve this illusion, the production team launched a full-scale visual purge. They went to extraordinary lengths to hide, relocate, or even cut down palm trees that naturally dominated the Florida landscape. This painstaking effort to reshape the environment demonstrates the filmmakers' almost obsessive commitment to authenticity, proving that even the smallest visual inconsistency could break the illusion they worked so hard to create. 9. The Murray Brothers and a culinary empire born from the screen. In 2001, Bill Murray and his 5 brothers brought a deeply personal vision to life, buying a restaurant called Murray Brothers Caddyshack in St. Augustine. Far from being a mere business venture capitalizing on the film's fame, the restaurant stands as a heartfelt tribute to the Murray family's roots, where all 6 brothers once worked as real-life caddies, hustling on golf courses to make ends meet. Stepping inside feels like walking straight into Bushwood Country Club. The walls are adorned with priceless memorabilia, from original props used on set to rare, behind-the-scenes photographs never widely seen by the public. The menu reflects the culinary identity of their hometown, offering Chicago-style comfort food tied to their childhood memories. What's most remarkable is the restaurant's enduring resilience. Even as surrounding businesses have struggled or closed due to economic fluctuations, the Murray Brothers establishment has remained steadfast. A clear testament to its lasting success came in early 2024, when it officially secured a lease extension for another 10 years, ensuring that this iconic destination will continue welcoming fans who cherish the irreverent spirit of Caddyshack. 8. 6 Days to Immortality. The Chaos Machine, known as Bill Murray. One of the most astonishing facts about Caddyshack is the limited time spent on set by the film's most iconic character, Carl Spackler. Despite becoming the very soul of the movie, Bill Murray was present for only 6 days of filming. In the original script, Carl was a minor, almost invisible role, so underdeveloped that he barely had any written dialogue at all. But the moment the cameras rolled, Murray transformed those 6 days into a masterclass in improvisational brilliance. He became, in every sense, a chaos machine, crafting some of the most unforgettable comedic moments in cinema history on the spot. From the absurdly hilarious monologue about his imagined encounter with the Dalai Lama to his mock-heroic speeches about battling the gopher, nearly every memorable line was born spontaneously in the moment. This explosive creative energy elevated what was once a background character into a cultural icon. In less than a week, Murray redefined Carl Spackler, turning him into a legendary figure whose impact has endured for over 4 decades. 7. A star was required to get the green light. Orion Pictures' defining gamble. In its earliest stages, Orion Pictures was deeply skeptical about Caddyshack's commercial viability. Executives feared that a story centered around teenage golf caddies would struggle to attract a broad audience. To mitigate the risk, the studio imposed a strict, the project would only move forward if at least one major A-list star agreed to join the cast. That requirement led to the casting of Chevy Chase, who was at the height of his popularity and commanded a substantial salary. His involvement not only reassured investors, but also transformed the film from a risky proposition into a promising venture. Director Harold Ramis went even further with a bold creative decision, bringing Rodney Dangerfield from the world of stand-up comedy onto the big screen. The combination of established stars and rising comedic talent created a powerful on-screen chemistry. That dynamic synergy propelled Caddyshack beyond conventional boundaries, cementing its status as a lasting icon of popular culture. 6. The birth of the Dalai Lama monologue. From philosophy to glorious absurdity. One of the most iconic moments in Caddyshack, the monologue about caddying for the Dalai Lama in Tibet, was originally conceived in a completely different form. In the early script, this speech was written for a teenage character and delivered in a serious, reflective tone, intended to provide an emotional anchor for the film. However, during early rehearsals, director Harold Ramis quickly realized that the scene felt dull and completely out of sync with the film's comedic rhythm. A decisive change followed when the monologue was handed over to Bill Murray. Without hesitation, Murray discarded the rigid script and rebuilt the entire story through the bizarre, unpredictable lens of Carl Spackler. With extraordinary improvisational instinct, he transformed a philosophical reflection into a wildly unhinged pseudo-spiritual ramble, culminating in the unforgettable punchline about achieving total consciousness instead of receiving a tip. This radical reinvention turned what was nearly a deleted scene into one of the most celebrated comedic moments in film history, proving the unmatched power of spontaneous creativity. 5. The actress who vanished after 2 hits. The dark underside of Hollywood fame. Sarah Holcomb, who portrayed the spirited Maggie, was once considered one of the most promising young talents in late 1970s American cinema. Following the success of Animal House and Caddyshack, both achieved before she turned 22, her path to A-list stardom seemed all but guaranteed. Yet, those 2 films would ultimately become her entire cinematic legacy. Behind her radiant on-screen presence was a deeply troubled personal reality. The intense pressures of the entertainment industry, combined with substance abuse and serious mental health struggles, exacerbated by the chaotic, indulgent environment of film sets at the time, led her to make a drastic decision. At the very peak of her career, she walked away from Hollywood entirely. For over 4 decades, Holcomb has lived in complete seclusion, consistently refusing interviews or any form of public return. Her disappearance remains one of the industry's quiet tragedies, a sobering reminder of the heavy price that often accompanies the illusion of fame. 4. Rejected by critics, revered by audiences, from disaster to comedy classic. Upon its release in 1980, Caddyshack was met with harsh criticism from the film establishment. Critics of the time described it as sloppy, disorganized, and structurally incoherent, arguing that the cast's excessive improvisation had derailed what was originally intended to be a more grounded narrative. History, however, told a very different story. With the rise of cable television and the VHS era, the film gradually found its way into households across America, evolving into a powerful cultural phenomenon. Its quotable lines became part of everyday language, especially among golfers and comedy fans, serving as a shared lexicon of humor. The audience's enduring admiration eventually forced a re-evaluation of the film's legacy. Decades later, the American Film Institute officially recognized its lasting impact by including Caddyshack among the 100 greatest comedy films of all time. From a critically dismissed oddity to a beloved classic, the film's journey stands as compelling proof that audience connection, not critical consensus, is the ultimate measure of a work's longevity. 3. The Baby Ruth prank, from real-life mischief to an iconic scene. One of the most unforgettable and outrageously hilarious moments in comedy film history is the scene where an entire swimming pool erupts into chaos over a mysterious floating object. In reality, this sequence was inspired directly by a real-life prank played by screenwriter Brian Doyle Murray during his days as a caddy. To convincingly recreate this disgusting visual gag, the special effects team faced a surprisingly technical challenge. Real Baby Ruth candy bars are dense and would sink immediately upon hitting the water. To achieve the desired floating effect, the crew engineered a lightweight foam replica that perfectly mimicked the appearance of the offending object. Then came the masterstroke. When Bill Murray's character Carl Spackler enters the scene to clean up the mess, the prop is seamlessly swapped for a real candy bar. The moment he casually picks it up and takes a bite, while horrified onlookers recoil, delivers an explosive visual punch. This brilliant fusion of practical effects and comedic timing turned a crude prank into a legendary scene, one that has made audiences laugh and cringe in equal measure for decades. 2. Ted Knight, the only professional in a zoo of chaos. Amid the rampant disorder of the Caddyshack set, Ted Knight, who portrayed Judge Smails, stood as a bastion of discipline in what he perceived as utter anarchy. Coming from the structured world of traditional sitcoms, where scripts were followed with precision, Knight experienced a profound culture shock when confronted with a cast that treated schedules as mere suggestions. He was reportedly stunned to witness colleagues racing golf carts recklessly, partying through the night, and transforming each scene into a free-form improvisational jazz session. Yet rather than allowing his frustration to undermine his performance, Knight did something far more sophisticated. He weaponized it. The simmering irritation he felt off-camera became the very essence of Judge Smails. His piercing glare, authoritarian demeanor, and rigid seriousness were not purely scripted. They were authentic emotional responses channeled into the role. This stark contrast between Knight's disciplined presence and the anarchic energy of his co-stars created a perfect comedic tension, elevating every scene and grounding the film's chaos with a necessary counterbalance. 1. The script was just a suggestion, when improvisation forged a masterpiece. Perhaps the most astonishing truth about Caddyshack, a film quoted endlessly for over 4 decades, is that it was barely bound by a fixed script during production. Initially, 3 talented writers spent months crafting a sprawling 200-page screenplay. But once filming began, that document was effectively discarded, making way for pure comedic instinct. Director Harold Ramis adopted a radically unconventional approach. With Rodney Dangerfield, he rarely called action in the traditional sense. Instead, he would simply prompt, "Rodney, do your thing." The result? Every sharp insult, Every outrageous one-liner delivered at the dinner table was born from decades of stand-up mastery, unleashed spontaneously before the camera. With Bill Murray, the process became even more legendary. The original script for the now iconic garden scene consisted of a single line: "Carl cuts flowers with a scythe." From that minimal cue, Murray improvised a wildly surreal 30-minute monologue, the now famous Cinderella story, a rambling, absurd meditation on triumph and enlightenment. It was later distilled into the unforgettable version seen in the final cut. Even Chevy Chase contributed heavily through improvisation, with many of his sharp, deadpan remarks never appearing in the script at all. The consequence of this creative freedom was staggering: enough raw footage to assemble a 4-hour film. Editors were forced into a painstaking process of surgical refinement to carve out the tight 98-minute version audiences know today. What emerged from this controlled chaos was nothing short of extraordinary. Caddyshack stands as a powerful testament to a rare truth in filmmaking: that structured disorder and fearless improvisation can sometimes produce something far more enduring than even the most meticulously written script.